Hello, everyone. This is JD Calderon, and this is Indy Comics Explained. And today I brought on Tony James so we can have an honest conversation about some things he's been going through with some fellow creators. And here's the thing, guys. I let him talk to about those creators, whoever he wants to name them. That's fine. He can do whatever he wants as far as that's concerned. But I told Tony, and I'm gonna tell you guys too, and I'm gonna tell the people that are concerned if they want to come on this channel and talk to me about this. They, I open door. I'll be happy to have them on. They've been on the channel before, so it's not that big a deal. We can all sit down and talk and just have an honest conversation. All right. So without further ado,
What's up?
Tony, how you doing? Tony, real quick,
Yeah.
let everybody know who you are.
Oh my God, I feel like everybody knows who I am now. I'm Tony James. I'm a writer, the creator of this book called Star Noir, which again, you all know what it is now. Um, and yeah, that's just what I do. I live mostly a hermit life and work on my comic books.
All right, and that's a good thing.
Yeah.
All right, so and just for transparency, right? Um, Tony and I are having this conversation. He already knows the questions I'm going to ask him. You understand? And I don't have a problem with that. I don't have any problem. I don't have a problem with anyone knowing that he knows that I know that we know that we all know. Right? It's all good.
Mhm.
Right? But I'm still asking the damn questions. Right? So here we go. And here's the thing, though. If the other individuals who are involved want to come on and have this same conversation, I'm going to ask them the same damn questions. Okay? So they're going to get the same treatment. I'm not going to treat them any better, any worse. It's going to be the same. You understand? So there we go. All right. So let's start it out. Why did you, Tony, why did you engage in these conversations?
I think there's a long through line from the first moments that I spoke to both Tyler and Stokes. I
Mm-hmm.
think both of those guys, they made horrible first impressions on me. They were right out of the gate, very insulting, very abrasive. And like as a Jersey kid, New York kid, like I'm just not gonna put up with that. So if you're gonna give me shit, I'm going to give this shit right back to you. Like that's just how it's just always been for me. But it seems to be that like a lot of what really pissed them off in the beginning was just having a different philosophy of making comic books, and not a philosophy where it's like wagging my finger of like, well, this is how it's supposed to be done. Like it's like, no, this is just how I feel, and it upsets your personal worldview of it. But the problem with somebody like Tyler and Stokes is that they don't really know how to disagree without being like brazenly insulting, and I just been put off by that ever since. With Stokes, it was every time we had a back and forth, he was just, again, everything was a disagreement with an insult that was always attached to it, and I never really appreciated that. He was an instigator for a while. One of the tipping points for me is when he was trying to instigate a fight on Christmas morning. That really bothered me because I was just sitting there going like, this man doesn't have family, he doesn't have a girlfriend, something like, why is this the thing that he wants to do at 9 o'clock in the morning on Christmas Day? And that led up to the infamous stream with Stokes, and in which I told Tyler before, I was like, this is not a good idea. Like, we shouldn't do this. I'm not interested in reconciling anything with him. Stokes has made everything way too personal up to that point. I had been poked and prodded and poked and prodded, and then when you get to that stream, I mean, what you're just seeing is the pot boiling over. Like, when we get on that stream, and he is like got this like drive folder of like 30 of my tweets, a bunch of them that I had deleted, that there were not even like about him or like a personal attack, and he was just bringing them up, going like, hey, what about this? You didn't get any engagement because no one cares about what you think. What about this? You didn't get any engagement because nobody cares what you think. And that just kept going, kept going, and I just didn't want to put up with any of that stuff. Like, again, nothing happens in a vacuum. you know him being an instigator, just in just regular discourse, leading up to that, by the time you get to that stream, I just had enough. I just had enough of his bullshit. I had enough of his bullying tactics. And, you know, when you look at a stream like that, it's not, it's really important to note that the person that's raising their voice is not always the person that's being a jerk. Sometimes the person that's raising their voice is the person that's being pushed to their breaking point, um, because they've just had enough of the individual that they're sitting across from. With Tyler, ever since I did that Alan Moore tweet, his response before he even spoke to me was, making an example of who I am as a creator. He would talk to other creators in the same thread and go, "Oh, Tony's really pretentious. Tony's pretty like high and mighty." And I'm just sitting there going, like, "This man doesn't know a lick about me. Like, why is he just doing all this pontification?" And it never got better. It just never got better. When we did the stream, JD, with Tyler,
Mhm.
sure, there was a bunch of it that was a good conversation, but I came away with it feeling like Tyler was just really fake the entire time. And listen, I'm not gonna, come at him for that. But I just kind of like put it in the Rolodex of just like, hey, he's came off as fake, whatever, that's fine. Um, but it just always kind of left our relationship on just really paper thin foundation. It was just really, really wobbly the entire time. And then, we talked about doing this, Twitter conversation for the stream on his show. It was really penciled in. It was half baked. Nothing was really set in stone. And then he's like, "Oh, I'm not going to stream anymore." And it's like, "Okay, cool." And then he's like, "I'll put you in my newsletter." Okay, fine, no problem like that. And then he goes to do a stream with Travis Gibb. And again, you're talking about somebody who at that point uh, did not did not come across to me as somebody who was trustworthy. They made a terrible first impression. They always came off to me as fake, just kind of telling me what I want to hear.
Mhm.
And So I expressed my annoyance to him. I said I didn't like that. It's why I don't trust you. Um, and from there, it was just like a tinderbox that was just set aflame, where it was just kind of like, you know, I would say something, he would say something, I would say something, he would say something. Multiple times we both had opportunities to leave that conversation, and we just did not take it.
Mhm.
There was a moment where we both left the conversation, but then Tyler came back like wanting to kind of reopen the conversation again. And so the short answer as to like why I engaged with those guys is that I felt that the way that they behaved was very much bully tactics. You're just trying to speak it, not so much speak down to me, but just be like very insulting, and be
Right.
very brazen, and then like use your platform. It's like they see that I have like 250 followers, and combined they have like 10,000 followers, and I
Mhm.
felt like that they were leveraging that to demonize me and like send their followers at me. Whoa, look how just insane that this person is. And it's just like, I don't have 5,000 followers to like jump in at my defense, and I think they know that. And yeah, everything that I had been doing with them was just me defending myself against bullies. And that's just how I feel.
Okay. That's fair. Listen, that covered questions 1 and 2. So
Mhm.
we'll move on to number 3. Um, and I think it kind of covers number 3, but I'll ask it anyway. What were you seeking to get out of these conversations, if anything?
Um, I mean, I don't think there was really anything to get out of the conversation. I mean, it really. I mean, with Tyler, it started as just expressing some, again, which was just a mild annoyance. So, just somebody that I found to be untrustworthy doing an untrustworthy thing. Um, but then it just became like a tit for tat.
Right.
It seemed like these guys, they would throw a rock, hide their hand, and then they were just mad that I had something to come back with. and then they would come back with something. So I don't think there was anything constructive. I don't think even those guys would say that there was anything constructive that they were going to get out of it. But yeah, it's a perpetual cycle of a back and forth, because listen, I think we're probably all prideful people, you know?
Hmm.
And so if somebody's going to come up to you and say something slick, you're probably going to have something slick to say back to them. And I think that's just exactly what happened with all three of us.
All right, cool. Um, all right. Now, I'm big on introspection.
Okay.
Okay. I tell everybody, it says, if you don't look within, you can never really look without, right? You're never going to see the world without looking at yourself first, right? If you don't look within, you learn nothing. So that's my fourth question. What did you learn from these conversations? What did you learn about yourself, if anything?
That I should trust my gut when someone makes a bad first impression, that you
Mhm.
shouldn't try to make it work with them. You shouldn't try to, um, try to develop anything with. If they make a really bad first impression, which again, with most indie creators, they make a very good impression. So it's very easy for me. These two guys are unicorns for me. Um, and I think what I learned was just that, like, hey, if you would have just seen how insulting they were out of the gate and just blocked them and moved on, you probably could have saved yourself a whole heap of trouble and headache. So just trusting my gut is the thing that I learned.
Okay, fair enough. Now, we were kind of talking about this. Well, you kind of mentioned this before. Number five is, how would you handle it differently now after knowing everything you know? If you had an opportunity to handle it differently, how would you go about it?
I wouldn't post an Alan Moore tweet. I think I think that's ground zero for everything that has happened. I think if I don't put up that thought experiment, I don't meet those guys, and we don't have any tit for tat, and then I wouldn't be sitting here right now.
Okay, fair enough. Fair enough. Now, there was one situation where it could be perceived that you may have threatened Tyler, right? With physical violence. There's a perception. I'm not saying you did. I'm not saying you didn't. But what I'm asking is basically, what were your intentions when you posted that tweet? I don't even remember what the hell it was. But
Oh, well, the tweet was, I said that he was, because again, Tyler had just kept going around for weeks on end, like saying that I'm a coward this and a coward that, and Tyler, you're 30 years too late to make that accusation. Like, I'm not a coward. Like, I've never been a coward. That's just never been who I am. But I was just tired of him just going on and on and on and on and on and on and on about it.
mm,
So I told him, I was just like, "What are you, like, 5 foot nothing? Like, if you were like in front of me, you couldn't say that because it wouldn't go well for you." And like, it's a critique about him being short and how, like, short people are not intimidating to me.
mm,
In the workplace, you always say, like, always assume best intentions. But on Twitter, it just seems to be the polar opposite. Always assume worst intentions and let's fight about it. And I think that's kind of like a big problem, with Twitter, is that, like, and it's not just with me. I see it with other creators. It's like nobody's ever given the benefit of the doubt. No one's ever given grace. They always go
mm,
right to the top shelf. Like, it's always the worst motivation, and nobody seems to want to question, well, could there be anything else to this? Because you really got to think logically in that moment. I mean, how many conventions have you been to and you witnessed two creators getting into a physical fist fight?
right.
It's none. So if you know that, why would I start the trend of that?
Mm. I
Like,
have been to a convention where I've seen a promoter and a retailer spit on each other for at least 15 minutes. It's quite disgusting.
that's gross.
Yeah.
As a
Right.
germaphobe, I do not like that.
Yeah, but I did see that. It was like, okay,
No.
guys, because
But again, it just goes back to, like, everything that I have done with these two guys. It's just been in self-defense. You know,
Mm.
they keep poking and prodding and backing me into a corner, and then sometimes I'm just gonna bark back to let them know that there's a line that they are crossing. But this idea that like that I would like put my hands on any creator is it's just crazy. It's just not even a thing that happens. It's not, you know, if I saw any of these guys at a convention, I mean, it would just be like two ships passing in the night. You
Mhm.
know, you see me, I'll see you. We're not going to talk, and we're just going to go to our tables and sell our books. That's the scenario you have to look forward to. Um, but yeah, this like it wasn't a threat. It was a critique about him being short. And yeah, it's just I think it's the part of the problem of the Twitter platform. It's just us always assuming worst intentions instead of giving anybody the benefit of the doubt.
Okay, that's fair. What is your biggest takeaway from all of this?
That Twitter is not for me. That's that's the main takeaway. You know, I had I've not been a user of Twitter for a long time. I was always really ambivalent about it. Um, you know, trying to like start promoting my books on it is really kind of what. And then the Alan Moore from November with the Alan Moore thing to right now is the most I have ever used Twitter in my entire life since making that account in like 2009. Um,
Mm.
and I feel like all of the creators that I know who avoid Twitter like the plague, uh, you know, they did warn me. Then I should have listened to everything that they said, because everything that they said about comics Twitter was absolutely true. It's completely devoid of nuance. It's tribalistic. There's too many echo chambers. And as I said before, like people just ascribe so much motive and intent to people that they have no idea about. And it's just, you know, a few of them who are some of the other creators that I've met more recently who are a little more tenured in the Twitter space, they would always say, oh, well, just if you're getting in drama, just like, you know, just stay out of it. Just don't give it oxygen and it'll just go away. And
Mhm.
while I'm fine with that, that's great. What I was noticing was that if Tyler would like to put a lie out there into Twitter space, I would watch the lie just fester and grow and just be kind of
Mhm.
become its own thing. And it became like a game of telephone where it's just like, it just like who I am and what Tyler's trying to say, they just kind of split apart and just never came back together. And then by the time I would try to go in there and go like, hey, this is what's right, this is what's wrong, it was like quicksand. Like the more that I struggled, the deeper I was being pulled in. And yeah, I think the whole experience has really turned me off to Twitter completely. You know, I think going forward, I think my Twitter feed is just going to be just boring promotion, just promotion and the occasional writing anecdote. While I build myself up on, you know, TikTok and YouTube and literally every other platform that is not Twitter.
All right, that's fair. Now, my final question for this series is: do you think there's any chance of reconciliation?
Um, I think that because they have made things so personal,
Mhm.
and they have essentially engaged in cancel culture. Like that's exactly what they've done. Like
Right.
they've said, hey, this is this is a guy that doesn't belong in this community. Let's demonize him to an absurd degree, and let's get all of our friends with all our accounts to like unfollow him and pile on him and people jumping into my replies. Um, sorry, I got well. Ask the question again so I can answer correctly.
Do you think there's a chance of reconciliation?
Oh well, no, because of all of the bullying and all of the cancel culture tactics that they've implied, I think things are too personal for us to
Mhm.
reconcile things in the short term. And I think that if there is reconciliation, I think my stipulation is that it is exclusively offline. So
Mhm.
they're gonna have to pull me aside after a con. They're gonna have to block their number and call me. Um, because that's really the only way. Because that way there's no confusion. That way there's no one has to put on a performance. And we can really just get down to the heart of the matter. But I don't think that'll happen anytime soon. I think those guys are still very upset. I don't think they even want any reconciliation anytime soon. But one day far in the future, in person, there's a chance.
Okay, that's fair. That's fair. I do have one more question, though,
Okay.
right? I did tell you I may ask something, all right, that outside of this. So my question for you is this, and I'm willing to answer this question myself. Okay,
Okay.
I want you to give me your top 5 recommendation of comic books that anyone should read, and I will do my best because we'll probably have some bisection. You know what I
Mhm.
mean? We'll probably have a crossover. So I'll do my best not to choose anything you pick.
All right. Dropsy Avenue Stories, Will Eisner. The rise and fall of a New York City neighborhood during the Great Depression. Highly
Mhm.
recommend. Just an ensemble, different stories just sort of intersecting. And anthology is the word I'm looking for. Um, that's a great series. Gotham Central. If we can kind of cheat and kind of make all of that just one, I know there's multiple entries in that. If we could just cheat and make all those one. Um, let's see. I would have to put in. Oh, man, I hate to say this, but I keep coming back to it. From Hell, from Alan Moore. A couple of you are
Uh,
laughing about that right now. I just think that's a really good. I think it's a really good character piece about a serial killer. I love all the history of London that you get. I think the art style just really kind of draws you in. Let's see, we're up to 3. I would put Batman the Cult. I think Batman the Cult is one
very
of the
right.
greatest Batman stories ever told. I mean, Batman versus religion. That's a tough fight for our Cape Crusader.
Hmm.
Um, and then I would put Star Wars. No, I'm just kidding. I would put the Death and Return of Superman. Um, the whole if you just find a big trade of that Death and Return of Superman, I think those are just it's just such a big epic scope feel, all the different permutations of Superman, the black suit Superman coming out of the mech at the end. That's awesome. Yeah, those are the 5.
All right, that's fair. That's fair. Let's see. I'll go with one of my perennial favorites. Alan Moore Swamp Thing. That's
Okay.
always one of my favorites. All Star Superman, Grant
Right.
Morrison.
Yeah.
Frank Miller's run on Daredevil. The whole damn thing, everything.
All right.
It's that, including the electric, all of it, just all
Okay.
of it, right?
Cool.
Um, um, hmm. Oh, Cerebus, Church and State,
Hmm.
Jocker's Story. Uh, I'm missing one. Church and State, Jocker's Story, and the one before, like the one in between it. But it's the 3. It's like it's volumes 2, 3, 4, and 5. I
Okay.
mean, for me, that's the sweet spot of that
Mhm.
run. There's some of it that comes afterwards that's good. There's some of it that's just Jesus, but that's the sweet spot for me. And then Fables. I would
Cool.
always suggest Fables. Like I said, all 150 pieces of it.
Mhm.
So that's my 5. There's more. The list is huge.
Oh yeah, yeah, for sure.
So
Mine is quite extensive for sure. To be fair.
exactly, exactly. All right, cool. I mean, Tony, look, man. I mean, I know you wanted to do this. I'm happy we get a chance. We got a chance to do this.
Yeah.
Is there anything in closing? Is there anything else you want to say?
I think cancel culture is really terrible.
Mm,
I think it's just a really bad practice. And I think that if you're engaged in a mob, I don't think you really realize what it's like for someone to be at the receiving end of something like that.
mm,
It's very traumatizing. Um, even though I know who I am and I'm surrounded by creators who are there to remind me exactly who I am, when you got like 30, 40 strangers just pouring in on you and saying like, this is who you are, this is what your personality is, this is what your book is, this is what your place in indie comics is, it's really taxing. And I don't think somebody's short-term feelings are worth the long-term damage that they cause to one creator that draws their ire. Unfortunately, we didn't watch, but we heard about the passing of a creator today. Um,
At Discord.
over that very thing.
Yeah.
And what was really shocking to me and kind of hit me in the gut was his suicide note and how relatable aspects
Mhm.
of his note really felt to me. You know, I was talking to another creator and I was like, telling him about like sections in it that was like, man, that really hit home for me. And the creator's response was like, when I read the note, the first thing I thought about was you, Tony. And it's just
Mhm.
like, I think that should really shed some light for people who are just kind of in the pile on. It's like, I think you got to look at it through that lens just for a second as a thought experiment of like, hey, imagine what it's like for people who don't know you to just pile on you, and you just get that for day in and day out. I mean, I had to shut down my Twitter because, for a week straight, Tyler just wanted to just complain about me doing a copyright strike. Like just every other tweet was just about this thing. And the straw that broke the camel's back was just I was trying to back somebody's book, and I tweeted about it, and then one of his followers is jumping in, going like, "Hey, can you talk about like the Tyler stuff? Because like I'm tired of seeing your name." And you're like, "Get out of here!" Like I don't like it's just I I really loathe drama. Okay, I
Mhm.
think I think a couple of people, they were trying to ascribe the video that I made of Tyler. They were trying to go, "Oh, he's drama farm. He's drama farming to get backers for his books." I will tell you that in 4 campaigns of Star Noir, the analytics have come back and Twitter is a non-factor. We're talking about like 1 to 2 backers per campaign from it's like it's to the point where I don't when I'm promoting, Twitter is really more just turning over that extra rock. It's not
Right.
really a place where I'm like, yeah, I got to get the word out here because there aren't too many backers that come from it. So the idea that I'm like using drama to sell books, it's like, well, it's it's never worked and I don't really understand how this is going to work. So yeah, I would definitely like, push back on that. And just, listen, before I did an Alan Moore tweet, like it just I was under the radar and nobody knew who I was, and I loved that. I loved that. I did not, I'm not a clout guy. Okay, if something gets more than 10 likes or 10 retweets on something, I have a panic attack because it's just great, like the buzzing of the phone over and over and over again. You feel like whatever you posted, like you broke it.
Mhm.
So I just I again I think just going forward, like after this is done, I mean, you if you're planning on seeing me in more drama, you better make other plans because it's just I'm gonna go back to being my quiet little hermit self that I was a few months ago, and I'm just not gonna get off the path again because the whole experience with this and kind of being at the tail end of essentially like a smaller version of a cancel mob,
Mhm.
um, was a really troubling experience for me. And I don't really know what some of you guys were hoping to achieve. I know that you did not achieve it, because listen, you can't just sit there and not know who I am, never met me, and just tell me what my personality is. Like as I said about Tyler, you're 30 years too late. You're too late. Like I know exactly who I am. So yeah, that's it. I want to just close the chapter on this, and never speak to those guys for a very long time.
Look, fair enough, man. Fair enough. Like I said, both Tyler and Stokes, if you guys want to come on at some point, I'm willing to talk to both of you. Um, and there it is. All right. So thank you, Tony. This was awesome.
Mhm.
Listen, like I said, in the show notes, there's a link. You can press it, go to Indiegogo, go back the book. I have a campaign running myself. Go back
There's
that book. Go do
there's
what you
4 days
need to do.
left. So
All
there's
right.
4 days left of the campaign, and
There you
it's
go.
like almost funded. We're like $150 away.
Hmm. Got you. All right. So there you go. Thank you so much, Tony.
Mhm.
Like I said, I think this was cool. Like I said, I think we all have to focus on just like chilling out and moving on. You know what I mean? I
Yeah.
mean, that's what I think we all need to focus on. for their focus on anything. All right, because we just saw what happened to God rest his soul, Ed Piscor, right? And we know that the constant bickering doesn't help anybody.
Yeah,
You know.
it's gotta stop. And I think if today's tragedy says anything, I think it's gotta be a turning point for this.
Mhm.
Some people are just not gonna get along. I mean, Alan Moore doesn't like Grant Morrison. Like it just happens.
Right.
But mob mentality is a no-win scenario. The
Mhm.
people engaged in the mob thing, they're villains, and the people who are at the tail end of it, I mean, you're pushing them to the brink of their own extinction, and it just has to stop. It just has to stop because over seemingly trivial things, it's just not the punishment does not fit the crime.
Yep. All right. That's cool. All right. Thank you, Tony. Thank you, everybody who's watching. Everybody have a good night. And I'll be seeing you guys Sunday. All right. So, everybody, have a good night, guys. Take care. Thank you. Bye. I almost hit the wrong button again.